Hey everybody, I wanted to post the Worldly Wise video for you guys. I'm sorry that I didn't get it posted last week. Something happened with my video, so it's just been a little crazy. But I wanted to go over these vocabulary words with you and then read the story that goes with our Worldly Wise pages for this week. So if you'll turn to page 88, I put a sticky note in everybody's book where the page that you should be on, and you'll see all of these words on that page, as well as 3 pictures that go with our story. First graders, you know how we've been doing this all year, is just learning these vocabulary words, listening to a story to go with it, and so that we can hear how these words are used in real life. Okay, so let's go over these 10 words really quickly. The first one that you see on page 88 is chart, and I want you to think about how Miss Marbet uses charts to teach you. Sometimes we write things that I'm trying to teach on charts. Sorry, this is not the best situation here because of my light right here in my dining room, but it's gonna have to work. Sorry. So we use charts when Miss Marbet tries to teach you something. So a chart is a drawing that gives us information. So, so you need to know what a chart is. Our second word is button. I think we all know what a button is. We can find buttons on our clothes. Also, you can find buttons on things like toys, in your mom and dad's car, and we push those buttons to make something happen, right? And on our clothes, it's to keep our pants together or our shirts together. All right. The next word is view. View. Okay. And I want you saying these words too as I'm saying them so that you know how to pronounce them correctly. View. A view is whatever you see from where you are. Okay. So if you were standing on a mountain top and you were looking out at the view, you might see trees and a lake or something like that. I want you to look around where you're sitting right now. What's your view? What do you see? Right now, where I'm sitting, my view is my living room and my kitchen and my front door. The front door is open and it's so sunny and nice outside. So that would be what a view is. Okay. The next one is land. I think we all know what land is. That's where on the earth where there's not water, right? We live on land. You run around in a field, that's all land. But there's another definition of land. I want you to think about an airplane and what it does when it's coming to where it's going to land, right? Okay, so there's 2 definitions to that word land. The next one is tearful. Tearful. And you're going to be watching a video with me teaching you about suffixes. I know that's kind of a big word right now, but you're going to be learning about those this week. And this actually is a word that has a suffix. This FUL is an example of a suffix, but I'm going to tell you about that in another video, okay? But tear, we all know what tears are, right? Whenever we cry, we have tears. So when you're tearful, that means just when you're sad or upset, whenever you've got tears coming out of your eyes, okay? When you're sad or upset, okay? All right, so then the next word is the word whole. Now I want you to look at this word whole, and when you hear the word whole, my mind automatically goes to like, there's a hole in a donut, or I'm gonna dig a hole to plant flowers, but this is actually a different kind of hole. It has a W at the beginning. There's that WH that we've talked about that says right? But that W is silent in this word, okay? This is the word whole, like I'm going to eat the whole apple, okay? That means like the entire thing. Let's see what my book says, what the definition says. It means complete, right? Whenever our whole class is at school, that means we're all there. It's complete. Our class is complete, right? If there's somebody absent, our class isn't complete. We're not whole, okay? So that's what that word whole means. The second word on this side is astronaut. And we all know what an astronaut is. That would be the coolest job ever, to be an astronaut, okay? And it's a person who's trained to travel in space. So maybe some of you would like to do that one day, be an astronaut. That would be really cool, to travel to space. The next word is dim. Dim, okay? And if I'm gonna put the lights down just a little bit, that means that they would be dim, okay? That means not so much light, right? At your house, or maybe you've been to a place. I don't have a dimmer in my house, but if I wanted my lights to just go a little bit, not so bright, but a little light, a little darker, that would mean I would be dimming them, okay? Dim would be like not bright, not dark, but not bright, right? Okay, the next one is scale. And we actually have two definitions for scale. You probably know these. I want you to think about it. Scale, okay? My mind goes to knowing how much I weigh. We step on a scale, right? Okay, like when we have to go to the doctor and our weight has to be taken, we step on a scale. But the other type of scales is found on fish, right? Fish have scales. And so you're going to see when we read this story which type of scale it's talking about. And I want you to think about that while I'm reading the story. Which kind of scale is it talking about? Is it talking about the scale that you stand on to weigh, or is it talking about scales on a fish? And also on some of these other ones that have two definitions. Think about which one it's being used in the story, okay? And our last one is tilt. Tilt. I don't know if you've ever been to a fair or somewhere where you've ridden rides and there's a tilt-a-whirl, okay? Tilt means not straight up and down, but it's tilted over right like that. When something tilts, it leans or tips to one side. So if you have something and it's tilting over, that means it's not straight up, but it's kind of going to the side like that, okay? All right, so you're gonna listen to our story. I want you to listen for these words. Remember how we do in our classroom, where we usually stand up and get very excited when we hear one of our vocabulary words. But I want you to think about it as you're listening to the story. When you hear them, you can raise your hand, you can yell out, "Oh, I hear it," if you want to. But I want you to notice these 10 words in our story today, okay? So our story is called Up, Up, and Away. So I'm gonna that like that a little bit more so you can see those words. And they're also in your book, right? It was school vacation, and Maggie and her whole family, there's that word whole, put a little check by it whenever we hear it, we're going to visit relatives in California. Maggie, Mama, Papa, and Diego were on their way. Aunt Nora, Uncle Pedro, and Sophia were coming later in the week. Maggie was excited because they were going to fly there in an airplane. Diego was excited because Mama had bought him a stuffed animal at the airport gift shop. As they boarded the plane, Maggie stared wide-eyed through the entrance to the cockpit. "Wow, look at all that stuff," she said, pointing to the instruments and charts. All right, there's one of our words, charts. "I've never seen so many buttons and switches in one place." So think about which one was used in this one. It wasn't a button that we do on our clothes, but a button that's pushed, right, in the cockpit of the airplane. The captain said hello to Maggie and Diego. "What have you got there, little guy?" he asked Diego. "Doggy," replied Diego, hugging his stuffed animal. Excuse me. "Do you like real dogs?" the captain asked. Diego nodded. "Well, we have a real dog on this flight," he said. "It's in a carrier under a little girl's seat." Diego looked excited. Maggie was thinking about the time Diego brought his pet Pickles the turtle on vacation. This morning, Papa had carefully checked Diego's pockets and his backpack before they left. just in case he had tried to bring him again. When they found their seats, Maggie looked out the window. This is so cool. I'm going to have a great view of the mountains when we fly over them. So if you've ever been in an airplane, it's a really cool view to look out the window, right? Just then, a flight attendant announced that they were about to take off. As the plane started to move, Diego yelled, "I'm an astronaut!" The people around him smiled. So there's that word, astronaut. Maggie frowned. Astronauts fly in space shuttles, not in airplanes, she thought to herself. The plane zoomed down the runway and lifted up into the air. Maggie looked out the window and saw that they were high above the ocean. The ride was a little shaky at first, but it quickly became steady. The pilot made a big turn, and then they were flying over land. There's that word, land. The hum of the plane's engines was so soothing that Diego soon fell asleep. As his arms relaxed, his stuffed dog fell to the floor. Maggie opened a coloring book, but the light in the plane was too dim to see clearly. There's that word, dim. Remember, that means not bright. Mama reached up and switched on the light above Maggie's seat as she was coloring in the scales on a picture of a goldfish. So there's that word, scale. So this is not the thing that we step on to measure our weight. It is something she's coloring, right? And the scale's on a goldfish. Maggie started to feel sleepy too. Soon her eyes closed and she was fast asleep. Papa tilted his seat back and closed his eyes. Tilted, so that's when put your seat back like that. He tilted it back, so there's that word, tilt. Mama was reading a book when suddenly a voice came over the loudspeaker. "May I have your attention, please? This is the captain. It seems we have lost a pet on the plane. Don't worry, folks. It's just a little dog, but he has gotten out of his carrier. If you see him, please call a flight attendant." Maggie woke up when she heard the announcement. She looked around and saw people searching everywhere for the missing dog. A tearful little girl was holding her dog's empty carrier. "I didn't mean to let him out, Mom," she said. "I was just making sure he was okay." The little girl continued to cry. "It's okay, Zoe," said the little girl's mom. "We'll find him." Maggie looked over at Diego, who was still sleeping. She noticed he had dropped his stuffed dog. Then she noticed something else. There, on the floor, curled up next to Diego's stuffed animal, was a real dog. And the cutest little dog Maggie had ever seen. Maggie leaned into the aisle and motioned to Zoe to come over. "I think I see your dog," said Maggie, pointing under Diego's seat. I think I missed tearful, didn't I? Yeah, the little girl was tearful. Sorry. There's tearful. "Naughty Coco," said Zoe, bending down to pick up her dog. She gave Coco a big hug. "I guess my dog found a friend." She picked up the stuffed dog and sat it next to Diego, who was still sleeping. "Thank you for finding Coco." Zoe took Coco back to her seat and put him in his carrier. The captain announced that the missing dog had been found. Diego slept all the way to California. As they were leaving the plane, the captain said to him, "Nice job, little guy." Diego smiled, but he had no idea what the captain was talking about. He had slept through all the excitement. All right, so there's our story. I hope you looked at your pictures while I read the story, and I'm going to make a couple more videos to go with our Worldly Wise, so be on the lookout for those, okay?